Live. I am here and it is a Sunday night and I've got lots of fun stuff planned for you guys tonight. I'm going to be doing a weekly recap of everything I've been doing this week, some fun things that I did, and I just want to thank all of you for joining me tonight. So we are doing a live stream for the first time on two different products here. We've got YouTube running on one and we've got Facebook running on the other. So hello to YouTube, hello to Facebook. I've got my good friend behind the camera who's going to be reading me some questions if you guys have questions. So what I'm going to jump into first is my tutorial here. So what I'm going to do is tell you guys all of the mysteries and demystify everything to do with buttercream. There's no secrets. I've given you all the real recipe on Friday on my Jen John's YouTube channel. And what I want to do today is just make it with you live. If you've got questions during the live process, Kelly's going to read them to me and I'll hopefully get to answer them for you. So here in my stand mixer, I have 1 cup of salted butter. And what I've done is I just whipped it up so it's nice and light and fluffy. Now when it's nice and light and fluffy, it makes it easier for everything to incorporate afterwards. And also you want to make sure that it's at room temperature along with all your other ingredients as well. So I've got it at 1, so it's whipped up 1 cup. And I'm going to add in about half of my icing sugar. Now here in Canada we call this icing sugar. It's also known as like powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, and I'm putting in 4 cups. My grand total in the recipe is 8 cups, and I just like to put about half in just because it makes the mixing process easier. And if you've been watching like the review that I did on this KitchenAid Mini, you know that the slow function doesn't work so well for me. And even when we're filming regularly, the slow function doesn't work out well. So I've got my icing sugar, I've got my butter in here. I'm going to put it on low, and I'm also going to add in some milk and some vanilla extract.
Donna says hi from Sydney, Australia.
Hello, Australia.
Guillermo on YouTube is wondering, what brand of butter do you use?
Good question. Okay, so I use what's ever on sale and cheap because we live in Canada. What I like to use is basically one that's like a nice and rich one. I've been discovering on my Baking Buddies community that some people have been using Land O'Lakes butter and they're finding that they're getting it super smooth when they're icing their product. So you might want to give that a try. I'm definitely going to, when I head down to the States, I'm going to try that out too. This guy's a little whipping around here.
Cassidy from YouTube says, I tried to make buttercream, but there were chunks of sugar and it was very sweet. How do I make it smoother?
Okay, so if you're getting chunks of butter, the biggest problem you've got is that you've not let your butter be at room temperature, or you haven't whipped it long enough, or you're putting too much liquid in too soon. So there's a couple of different things you can troubleshoot for that. So hopefully one of those, if you retry that, that fixes it out. So what I've got in my bowl now is 4 tablespoons of milk, and I'm also going to be putting in 1 tablespoon of the pure vanilla extract. If you use the artificial, it just doesn't taste as good, but you can get away with that because if you've been pure vanilla shopping lately, you know that it costs an absolute fortune right now.
Milo's wondering from YouTube, if you don't have a KitchenAid or hand mixer, what is the best way to make buttercream?
Great question. I learned with a spatula and a bowl. So you can do this recipe specifically. You can do this one with just in a bowl. It's how I learned, and I just would use a spatula or a wooden spoon actually was my kind of go-to implement. And I just used a nice large bowl. You just want to cream your butter first the same, and then instead of adding like 4 cups of the icing sugar, I would do half a cup at a time because the slower you're able to incorporate the icing sugar, the less chance for chunks you're going to have if you're using it by hand.
Brittany on Facebook wonders, I've tried to get my butter at room temperature, but it takes too long. How do you get your butter at room temperature?
That's a great question, and it does take pre-planning when you have your butter, when you need things at room temperature. But with butter, you can cheat it. You can cut out, like if for this one you need 1 cup, you can cut out the cup of butter, and then I pop it into the microwave for like 10 seconds, and it's usually like 10 to 12 seconds is kind of perfect. You don't want to melt it because then you have a melted butter problem. But the other thing you can do too is there's kind of like a little hack. You can put boiling water into your If you fill up a container, like a clear container with boiling water, that's going to heat your container. And then if you put your 1 cup of butter in your container, and then you put the container over top of your butter, it also heats it from the heat of the container. Sounds like it doesn't work, but it is. It's another kind of like hack way to get your butter to room temperature. But eggs, don't cook those. Those ones you just have to be pre-planned.
Kiki Ann says hi from Kingston, Jamaica.
Hello.
And Caro MV from Costa Rica wants to know if you're using salted or unsalted butter.
I use salted all of the time, but you can use unsalted butter. It's either one works for you. If you're not using salted and you're choosing to go with unsalted, and it's a very controversial topic as well. So I do salted. Most people would say that I'm doing it the wrong way, but like I've told you guys 1,000 times, if I can do it, you can do it, and I've demystified the truth of can you use salted butter or not? Yes, you can. Also, if you use unsalted butter, at the end you might want to add a little pinch of butter back into your recipe, because salt does help to, salt into your recipe, because salt does help to bring out all the other flavors of the other items that are in your actual recipe. It doesn't just buttercream, it works for cakes, it works for cookies, it works kind of for everything. So that salt component is important.
Puppy Lover 5003 and Stefan Dippity on YouTube are wondering, do you sift your icing sugar?
Again, I use salted butter and I don't sift my icing sugar. I am telling you guys the real truth. There is no, it makes for fluffier icing sugar. Then the icing sugar takes up more space, but honestly, I don't have time to sift. If you've got time to sift, go for it. It does work, but I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Let's give my bowl a little pat. So I've got all of my icing sugar in here now, so a total of 8 cups. 1 cup of butter is in here. Got 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and I've got 4 tablespoons of milk in here so far. So the last thing I need to do is incorporate my buttercream at this point. And then I'm going to add in about 2 more tablespoons of milk. You can use 2%, 1% skim milk. You could even use whipping cream and get away with that as well. Now, the other thing to remember about too is you want to go slowly when you're mixing it. So you just want to mix it nice and slowly in order to get everything incorporated perfectly.
Fern from Facebook wants to know, do you let it sit for a while before using it, or can you use it right away?
You can use it immediately. You can let it sit, and you can also refrigerate it, you can freeze it, you can do all those sorts of things. But again, if you're going to refrigerate it or you're going to put it into the freezer, you want to let it come back to room temperature after you've done that. And then the optimal way to do that is to re-whip it at that point. Again, you can cheat that because I've done it. You don't have to re-whip your buttercream, but it will produce like a more fluffier buttercream if after frozen and after refrigeration, if you re-whip it at that point. So I've got all of my mixture in here, and my buttercream at this point is fairly stiff. So if you are wanting to do buttercream flowers, if you're wanting to do nice stiff borders, at this point you've got the perfect buttercream for that. You can also use this to top cupcakes, all those sorts of things at that point. But what we're going to do now is just add in 1 more tablespoon of milk, because it's going to make it a little bit easier to work with.
Rosalind Farmer on YouTube wonders, can you use whole milk as well?
Yes, you definitely can use whole milk. You just might need to use an extra tablespoon or 2, because the whole milk or a whipping cream, if you're going to use that, is going to be thicker, and so it's not going to produce such a looser buttercream. It's going to be a stiffer buttercream. So we've got this just about finished here. I think we're sitting good here. Any questions in the meantime?
Nakia M is wondering, if you need to double your batch, would you just double the ingredients or make it twice and then combine the 2 batches?
You can do it either way. Usually my limitation for that is the size of the mixer. I'm using like a KitchenAid mini here, so obviously I can only fit 1 batch in here, but this recipe doubles perfectly, it triples perfectly if you've got one of the larger machines. It's perfect for all of those activities, as you can double it completely, triple it, anything you want to do here. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way. knock everything off the counter in the meantime.
Samia Noman from YouTube was wondering what speed you had the mixer on.
I had it on low only because I'm interacting here on camera, and I'm not microphoned in or anything. So the reason I had it on low was for that. But you can put it up to about medium. When you're working with icing sugar, you don't want anything to be going super fast. You just want to keep it between low and medium in order to kind of incorporate it the best that you can. So I've got my buttercream here, all nice and light and fluffy. At this point, you can add in your coloring. If you want to make it red or black, check out those videos on how to do that. They're super easy. You can also, at this point, basically, like I said, you can take this, pop it onto your cake, you can pipe it with your cupcakes, and you can spread it onto your cake. Now I've got some of my practice cupcakes here. We found some cupcake dummies, basically. These are fake cupcakes where I can practice piping. They're really cool, actually. And I've got some of the buttercream that I've already made just earlier here in my piping bag. And I've just got it fitted with an 809, a taco tip. And so once you've got your buttercream into your bag, you can just start the top off. Got a little dollop there in the center. And then I'm just taking my buttercream here and I'm just doing the standard pipe, just like that, to top the top of the cupcake. You can spread it onto your cakes now too, and it's perfect for basically whatever you want to do with buttercream.
Cynthia Fraser on YouTube was wondering why use the paddle and not the whisk attachment.
I have never ever used the whisk. I've seen that a couple times too. I use the whisk when I'm doing a Swiss meringue or an Italian meringue buttercream, but for the American buttercream, which is what this is normally known as, I only ever use the paddle. The regular size KitchenAid has that extra paddle piece in the center of it. So this is the KitchenAid mini one, but the one that's the regular KitchenAid, it has the other paddle little pieces that go in through the center. So that might be why this one looks a little bit weird, but you don't need the whisk. You don't need it. And that also might add unnecessary air pockets into your buttercream if you're not familiar with that. And again, this is my perfect recipe. And if you follow my directions, like word for word, you can make it work because that's what I do all the time.
Crafty Baker on YouTube is wondering about how many cupcakes can you frost in one batch?
If you're topping them like this, probably like 6, no I'm kidding, it makes about 4 cups of icing. It's going to depend on what you're doing with your cupcake here. So I've got here probably a 1/4 cup of icing, so you're not looking at very many cupcakes if you're putting this much on. But if you're putting on just like a simple rosette here, which I can show you as well, so I'm just like putting a nice, almost like a flat topper there, you're gonna get a lot out of that. That's only a couple tablespoons of icing there. So it depends completely on what you're doing for your cupcakes, but it will ice an 8-inch cake or 9-inch cake completely, and it will also do that filling layer as well if you're doing a 2-layer one.
Latanya was wondering if the paddle attachment is the one that comes with the machine.
Yes, so this one is the one that comes with the KitchenAid Mini. So that's the one that it comes when you get it. You get the whisk, you get the paddle attachment, and you also get the dough hook. And if you were interested more in the KitchenAid Mini, I did a complete review of it before Christmas time. So if you want to check that out, it's up in about the December uploads on YouTube.
How big of a bag do you use when you make a cake? Savannah McIntyre wants to know on Facebook.
So when I am decorating and piping, I use these standard, they're 12-inch piping bags. I've got one here not filled. So this is just a 12-inch piping bag. It's a medium weight because I like the resistance of the medium weight provides. You can use lightweight, you can use a heavier weight one. Tons of different companies make these. I just like the availability of these Wilton ones, and I also order a Teco ones too from Amazon.
Ash Lal on YouTube was wondering, where did you get those fake cupcakes?
Paul hunted them down for me. They came from Amazon.com, I think. It was either Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, or they might have both had them. They're fairly affordable too. I can't exactly remember how much money, but they're fairly cheap too. So I find it's going to be super easy and excellent for practicing with, and especially doing my live videos, so that I don't have to worry about making cupcakes, or as Facebook people know, I don't have to worry about buying muffins at the store and cheating.
Allie Lee on Facebook wonders, how many days is buttercream good for? How long can you use it before it expires?
Okay, so for storage, again, because there is dairy in this, I always store it in the fridge. Now, people have said, and I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to repeat what people have said, theoretically, that because there's so much sugar in it, then it's not a risk for the dairy component, but I always err on the side of caution and I keep everything in the fridge. I think it's best used and consumed within 2 to 3 days. But also, I had a thought once about, you know what, if your milk expires the next day and you're putting it in and you think it's going to last for like 2 to 3 days, your icing, I'm not entirely sure that would be accurate. So watch your milk expiry as well for that. Now for storage, what I do is once I've done whipped it up and I've used whatever I need to use, I just put it in like a sealed container here, like a Tupperware or a Rubbermaid, and I pop this into the fridge, and then when I want it to come out, use it again, bring this out, let it come to room temperature, re-whip it, or don't, and it's good to use again.
Can you use clear vanilla extract to make it white? Rosalind Farmer wants to know.
Well, I have everything you need to know about white buttercream up on YouTube already. Because the butter is yellow, you're never going to get a true white unless you follow my hacks from the buttercream video, the white buttercream video on YouTube on my Jenn John's channel. But you can help that process along by, yes, using clear vanilla extract. But when it's clear, it's usually not pure, so just keep that in mind too, because it will affect your taste of the buttercream.
Diana Medina wants to know from Facebook, to do chocolate, do you just add cocoa powder?
Yes. So I'm going to do a video coming up on how to make chocolate buttercream here, but what you do is you start out with this buttercream recipe exactly, and then I add 2/3 of a cup of cocoa powder and a little bit more milk. I'll do a complete tutorial coming up on Jenn John's soon for that one.
Terry Johnson says hi from Charleston, South Carolina.
Hello.
And Beth says she really likes your hair tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'm having a lovely hair day. It's straight, it's different. So if you guys have got more questions about buttercream, feel free to keep asking them. I've got the tutorial part kind of done here. I'm going to move on to what else have I been doing this week in the kitchen. So this is like a weekly recap in the kitchen with Jenn. So what I've got is my cake. It's one of my most favorite cakes that I have made in a very, very long time. And you guys have enjoyed it so far, so I really am happy with this one. Have we got lined up okay over there, guys? Everybody can see it? Awesome. So this week on YouTube, on my main channel, Cupcakes and Cardio, what I did was I uploaded this Sephora makeup cake, and I'm a huge Sephora fan, and when I think makeup, that's where I think. I go to Sephora, I buy it online, or I buy it in the store, and you're getting these crazy awesome little bags now, and this is a new bag design. So when I first started researching, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be perfect, it's gonna be really easy, it's just gonna be solid black. But no, they have a new bag out, so you've got to stripe it white here to get the bag done. But I've got fondant makeup on the bottom. I put a nice bright red on the inside because Sephora they complement with that red. And then I've got the tissue paper coming out of the top and the handles here as well. So if you guys have not had a chance to check out the Sephora makeup cake tutorial yet, make sure you do so. So I just wanted to recap that if you guys are just joining us, I'm live streaming at the same time on YouTube and Facebook right now, hopefully cutting down the live workload a little tiny bit. I've showed you how to make my buttercream recipe live. I also have it uploaded in a regular video format on my Jenn John's tutorial channel. So if you want to replay that and check that out, feel free to do that as well. If you have more questions about that, just ask them. I've got my good friend Kelly behind the camera here with questions for asking me the questions so I can answer them and focus on this. I want you guys to check out the Sephora cake, but I also this week in the kitchen, so I uploaded the 2 videos to the 2 channels. We did a compilation video, and I also got a gigantic package in the mail. So here we go. I have my suspicions about what it is, so I'm pretty sure I know what I'm opening up here. Oh, I also got a letter. I'm excited to open that too. So we're gonna unbox this, and if it is what I think it is, I'm gonna be doing a review on it. If you are in my Baking Buddies community group on Facebook, make sure you join that one first of all. And if you have suggestions for other things that you want me to do reviews on, I am taking them and ordering them as we speak. I just ordered a Pro Froster, and now I've got this guy coming out, and I think I know exactly what it is.
Jennifer Garcia Escobedo was wondering what flavor your Sephora cake was.
Ooh, it's just vanilla, but you could do red velvet. Whenever I do red vanilla, I always think, why didn't I do that red velvet? But red vanilla, I wanted the pop of color difference. I wanted a nice bright red center, so that's why it's a red vanilla here.
Monica Hunt's wondering on YouTube, what happens if you put spoiled butter in it? The buttercream.
I wouldn't eat it. So I would think that that would be the same as if you were going to have like basically anything that was spoiled. I suggest you wouldn't, I wouldn't use
Would it
that
be
at all.
runny, or what would the texture be as you're making it?
I have no idea. I've never used spoiled butter. It is exactly what I thought it was. So what we have here, let's start here. What we have is the HCP Easy Roller. It's the cake pop maker. If you have been following me for a while, you will know, and you will have never seen a cake pop in the last like 2 years, because well, that's not true. We did the geode one, but I despise making cake pops. So I am super excited to get to try this out. So this is the Easy HCP roller. So the Easy Cake Pop roller. So I've got the kit here. I'm super excited to try this out. So you guys are getting the first-hand knowledge here of what I'm going to be reviewing soon. And look at this! Oh my god! It's shaped, it's going to be cake pops shaped like cupcakes. How adorable is this? So if you guys have questions, fire them at me. I'm just going to keep seeing what's in here.
Marcia Fullwood on Facebook was wondering, can you repeat the name of the Facebook group, please? Thanks.
It's called the Facebook. It's called the Baking Buddies Community. You have to make sure you get the word community in there. And then when you apply, there's a quick question on there that you have to answer it. And if you just answer that question with like why you want to be in the group kind of thing, all my moderators and my other admins will let you into the group and you can join the fun. So we've got some smaller cake pop here, some smaller rollers. So lots of stuff that I'm going to get to review with you guys.
Kai Havens is wondering, what do you do with the cakes when you're done with them? Well, I can tell you, Kai, I've had many.
Kelly is probably my absolute favorite cake tester. Whenever we have extra cake, she definitely likes to get a sample in, and she gives it away to her friends too. So friends and family get most of those. When I used to be a teacher, I used to take them to the staff room and that sort of thing. So we've got a couple different sizes here of the HCP roller, and that's going to come up as a review soon. And I also have a letter here from somewhere in Sudbury, Ontario. So I've got a little mail, and if you want to send me mail, I do have a P.O. box, and it's 253 Tamarack Mall, Cranbrook, BC, V1C 6J5. I'll put that in the description box after the video gets uploaded.
Christina Van Wagnen on Facebook says she's so jealous. She's been waiting to try out that machine.
The cake pop one?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know if it's worth it. So I'll figure out how to use it, and that's basically why I started this channel and why I started Baking Buddies, is because I want to prove to you that if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not professionally trained. I've taught myself how to do these things over the years. I've only been baking since 2011, like formally. And so if I can do it, I swear you can do it too. So, and if you need encouragement and you want more and you want to come talk cake, just come over to my Facebook group and join that one. So here, this is from Caitlin LaChance. She added some lovely cupcake drawings in. It's so adorable. And Caitlin, if you're watching this, I will write you back, but just in case you're not, I will go, or just in case you are, I will go over a couple of this. She's got a huge letter here. She has some questions. How did I learn to bake and how long did it take? Well, I kind of just touched on that. I learned how to bake, apparently according to my mom, when I was 18 months old, but I don't think that's true anymore. And how long did it take? It's a lifelong process, I'd have to say, because every single time I learn something new here, there's always a new technique that comes out. There's always a new recipe I want to try, so it's kind of one of those lifelong learning things. The question is, what's my favorite video that I've ever made? And what was my favorite and least favorite topping from the pizza challenge? My favorite video that I've done is definitely my one that I did with my niece Elsa. We did a frozen cake. And my most recent video, that's my favorite, is the geode cake because I loved doing that one. My favorite topping on the pizza, I don't remember the favorite because mine was absolutely disgusting. And the pizza challenge, the grossest part was the toothpaste that went on mine. That was disgusting. And I just bought a bunch more stuff for Peyton and I to do another challenge, so that we've got another challenge coming up soon too.
Oh, that's great, because Kayla had just asked when we'd get another video with Peyton.
Oh, awesome. So Peyton is a little Miss Busybody there. Well, I guess not a busybody, but she's busy and a body. So I've just booked her for a couple of weeks in April to come and film with us. So we'll have some new videos with Peyton coming up soon. We've got 2 challenges that we're going to do, and then I'm hoping to do another regular cake recipe with her as well.
Rachel Nichols shares your hate of making cake pops, so she's excited to see your review.
Awesome. I hate cake pops and I hate mini cupcakes. Those 2 things, if you can find a way to make mini cupcakes easy, I'll review that too.
Andrea Madison has a cake pop roller. She hasn't been successful with it, so I can't wait to see your review.
I have heard that there is some challenges to it. I heard that if you're already familiar with making cake pops, you kind of have to forget how you know how to make them and then follow the directions accordingly to make them. So I'm gonna read the directions fully and then follow it step by step. I'm gonna do that tonight actually. So check my Instagram stories later on, and you'll be able to see some behind the scenes testing. Maybe fails, hopefully not, but.
Oh, sounds good for me. I'll test them for you.
As Kelly stays overnight and sleeps here.
Phoebe Gouette wonders, my family can't do vanilla extract or milk, and we only buy all natural butter. What would you use to replace them?
Okay, so for substituting butter, you can do, there's a vegan butter that when I've had to do the substituted butter, you can use that. Now, as far as vanilla extract goes, you can use any extract that you want. Just vanilla buttercream is usually kind of the most common flavor as opposed to chocolate, but you can replace it with a strawberry extract, an almond extract. You can replace it with pretty much any kind of extract. If you're using an almond extract though, almond is quite strong, and so you might not want to put a whole tablespoon in of that, so just keep that in mind.
Molly Linhart Stoltenberg says, can you be like Oprah and we all get a cake pop kit?
Everybody gets a cake pop kit! And you get one and you get one.
I think she's joking, guys. Kayla Bisson says, come visit Sudbury. That's where the letter came from.
Yes, come visit Sudbury. I've been to Toronto. That's as far as I've gotten over there.
And where did you get the cake pop roller? Letitia King wants to know.
I got it in my mailbox. So that kind of things tends to happen. What happened with this story is that on my Baking Buddies community on Facebook, somebody mentioned it in a thread, and then I said, hey, I'll buy one if you guys want me to, and I will do a review on it. And then what happened was it magically showed up at my house, well, on my P.O. box. So when you have your address publicly written for people to send you things, sometimes gigantic boxes full of things that you don't know show up at your door.
Darlene Toop on YouTube is wondering, is it necessary to keep a cake decorated with buttercream in the fridge, or can it be kept on the counter?
In my opinion, you need to keep it in the fridge, but my mom kept her cakes on the counter my entire life, and I'm still alive. But I wouldn't do that anymore. Like I just mentioned before, I prefer, because there's dairy in it, because there's things that can spoil, I keep it in the fridge. Now, what some people don't like about the fridge is that it can dry it out, which means you need to wrap it properly or keep it in a sealed container. And also it's hard then, not hard from rock hard from drying out or going bad, but hard because the butter solidifies and the cake gets a little bit heavier because you've got it in a cold environment. So what you want to do before you're serving it, if you are going to put it into the fridge, you want to bring it out an hour or two ahead of time so all of that has a chance to soften.
Mary McGovern says, I've had Jen's cupcakes from our market. She makes the best.
Thank you.
And Tanya Feathers is saying, what is the name of the Facebook page? I'm sorry to ask, but I can't find it.
No worries. I'll put a link to it. If you scroll through the Facebook timeline afterwards, you'll be able to find it there. You just have to search Baking Buddies Community, and it's just spelled as you would think. There's nothing tricky to that, but I will put a link up here afterwards.
Michelle Wooten says, with Mother's Day coming up and a lot of us having mothers, grandmothers who can't have sugar, would you consider doing something we can make for them?
Yes, that is something that gets asked a ton. It also is a hugely popular conversation happening on Baking Buddies. I think even today I saw the thread going. So it's like diabetic, sugar-free, all those sorts of things. So I'll definitely put it on the list as something to do as like a hack. So I'll figure that one out too.
Maricel Romina Salazar Veliz, I hope I got that right, says hello from Argentina. And my name is Anna on YouTube wants to know, where did you get your mixer and what was your first stand mixer?
Okay. So the mixer that I was using earlier in this show, that is a KitchenAid Mini Artisan. Now that I got at Canadian Tire, but you can get it at like any department store. You can get it online from Amazon. It's my fourth KitchenAid. I have I'll go biggest to smallest, the KitchenAid Pro 5 Series, a KitchenAid Classic, a KitchenAid Artisan, and then the KitchenAid Artisan Mini. They all serve a different purpose. I don't use them all anymore. I don't ever bring out the Pro because unless I'm making marshmallow fondant. That's the only thing I use the Pro for. But I have a complete review of the Mini and along with those, and I have reviews on all of those other machines as well. And the older reviews I have up are still relevant now because all 4 of the machines are still performing the exact same way that they did when I actually bought them. So I've used my Classic the most, and I have used it probably thousands and thousands of times, and it still is just right there. It's snappy, it works absolutely perfectly. We've done minimal maintenance, like pretty much no maintenance, but I clean it and that sort of thing, but that's it.
Karen says she's looking to do a cake for a dog. I bet Ruby would like that.
Well, Ruby is diabetic, so Ruby can only have this one certain recipe. So yeah, all of you guys who want recipes for like your diabetic or sensitive mothers, well, I've got a dog recipe for you. But I'll look into that as well. I know that that's a popular thing to put together.
Alyssa Philippa on Facebook is wondering, would you recommend freezing your cake before and after putting fondant on so the buttercream isn't runny? Thanks, Jen. Love your channel.
So freezing cakes with fondant, first of all, it's not usually a good idea unless you're having like an emergency situation where you have to freeze a cake that's already covered in fondant. Some people do it. I tried to not do it as much as I humanly possibly could. I think I only froze it once with it. What happens is when you pull out the cake from either the fridge or the freezer, especially the freezer when it's covered in fondant, you're going to get condensation because of the temperature change. So you'll notice that your fondant covering is going to become smooth, or is going to become glossy, and if you touch it, you're going to leave an imprint and it's going to show an effect of that, basically that temperature change. So I put my fondant cakes in the fridge all the time, but I don't put them into the freezer, but technically you can. And if the reason you're doing that is because of the buttercream, you just need to have a better buttercream recipe base. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. We did a brand new test of Facebook and YouTube Live at the exact same time. We did a homemade buttercream recipe together. I showed you my Sephora cake, and I just want to thank you guys for joining me each and every week on both of my channels and over on Facebook. So I will see you guys all again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.